Death in the Andes is a 1993 novel by the Peruvian author Mario Vargas Llosa. Born in the southwest of the country in 1936, Vargas Llosa is generally considered to be one of the most significant Latin American authors of the modern age. When he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2010, the committee commended his cartography of structures of power and trenchant images of the individual's resistance, revolt, and defeat. Death in the Andes was his 11th novel. It's principally a detective story, although it has deeper themes. Its protagonist, a corporal in the Civil Guard called Letuma, appeared in Vargas Llosa's 1986 Who Killed Palomino Bolero, about the murder of a young recruit at a military base. Death in the Andes teams Letuma up with a younger policeman called Tomas Carreño. Both have their faults, but ultimately they're decent. Letuma is driven by a sense of duty. Carreño is less morally committed. He's actually linked to a powerful gangster, but not in a way that jeopardizes the investigation, and he's recovering from an unrequited love affair. The novel's set in the heart of the mountains. A team of workers has been assigned to build a highway, but 3 of them have gone missing. The provisional assumption is that they've been murdered, but why, how, and of course, who's responsible? Peru, at this point in its history, is a country in trouble. There's a little bit of vocabulary to be mastered here. The Saruchos, the indigenous mountain people. The Tarucos are terrorists. The Senderistas are a particular brand of terrorist, Marxist shining path revolutionaries with a taste for show trials and sadistic executions. They're never far away and always expected. Menace is a fact of life. Death in the Andes has 3 layers, each more universal than the last. On the most obvious level, it's a fairly conventional detective story. On the next level, it's about Peru and its internal problems. In case the reader might think those problems merely affect the mountain regions, in Chapter 4, Vargas Llosa has one of his characters remark, statistically speaking, the streets of Lima are more dangerous than the Andes. On the deepest level, the novel is about the way in which human beings are shaped by physical geography. The gruesome violence of the Tarucos and Senderistas is partly inspired by the pitilessness of the mountain regions and the capricious nature of the weather. There's nothing new about violence in this area. On the contrary, it goes back millennia. Past civilizations routinely saw the mountains as vindictive gods, requiring propitiation by human sacrifice. Of course, that raises the question of how far and how deeply geography conditions all of us. Vargas Llosa isn't a fatalist as regards that question. All the characters can remember a time before the terrorists when Peru was relatively happy. Can it get back to being that way again? It's a question Vargas Llosa may have been keen for his readers to ask. Although he began his literary career on the political left, he came to believe that socialism was incompatible with human freedom. In 1987, he helped found a centre-right political party, and in 1990, 3 years before the appearance of Death in the Andes, he ran for president as part of a coalition committed to greater ties with the United States. He was narrowly defeated. Of course, that makes Death in the Andes important as sociological evidence concerning how many Peruvians may have seen their country at the time, riddled with fanatics and gradually falling apart. Thankfully, it's a lot more than that. It's a pacey read, and although the 2 protagonists are rather insular in places, it stood the test of time.